everyone, it's Carly. Welcome back. It's about 8:45 at night and I'm getting the dough hook on the KitchenAid so I can whip up some dough for sourdough bagels. This recipe is from Lisa at Farmhouse on Boone. She's my absolute sourdough guru, and everything I know about sourdough, I know because of watching her and trying to attempt all of her recipes. So I will include the link to the recipe in the description. But what I'm doing first is I'm adding about 3 cups of all-purpose flour to the KitchenAid. We're going to end up trying to get to 4 cups, but this is a very dry dough, so it's nice to start with 3 first and then see if you can add some more. Next, I'm adding a cup of water. And then adding a half a cup of my sourdough starter. I also learned how to make a sourdough starter from scratch from Lisa, so I can link that in the description as well. I followed her process to the T, and my sourdough starter is perfect, and I really honestly can't believe how simple it was and not intimidating. So next I'm adding 2 teaspoons of salt. And lastly, adding about 2 tablespoons of honey. So we're going to mix that together on a low speed for a few minutes. I find that this comes together really quickly. It pulls away from the sides really quickly and combines really quickly. So, like I said, it's a very dry dough, and I do find that my KitchenAid has a bit of an issue once it goes longer than a few minutes. So all that's left to do for our nighttime prep is I'm just going to keep this dough in the same bowl. We're going to put some plastic wrap over it, and then we're just going to let it sit out on the counter all night. So I'll see you in the morning. So here's our dough the next morning. It's risen very nicely. And this is about 7:30 in the morning. So it's been about 11 hours sitting out overnight with the plastic wrap over it. So what we're going to do is take it out of the bowl, and we're going to cut it into 8 as evenly sized pieces as we can. And this recipe is going to make 8 bagels. So to get your bagel shapes, I just start by rolling into a ball, and then to make the hole in the center, I put one finger through one side, one finger through the other, meet them in the middle, and kind of spin them around, both fingers. And this is just going to be the first time we do this. Once they rise a little bit, we're going to need to make the hole wider again. Make sure that your toddler has touched every single one of your bagels. This is an essential step. So once you have all 8 of your bagels shaped, I'm just putting a tea towel over them, and you need to set it in a warm place for about an hour or two. This is the warmest spot in my house, turning on the fireplace, and I do sit it there pretty close on my makeshift stool. But I find that this really does the trick and they rise perfectly. This was probably a little over an hour, and you see they're nice and puffed up. And the hole in the center has closed a little bit. So before we move on to the next step, you'll want to re-stretch that again. So what I'm doing next is I have a pot of boiling water on the stove, and I'm adding a tablespoon of baking soda as well as a tablespoon of sugar. And what we're going to do is boil each of the bagels for about a minute on each side in this solution, and that's just going to help give the nice golden brown crust. So I'm giving them a flip after 1 minute, and we'll do another minute on the other side. I'm setting these bagels just on a paper towel that's on top of my cookie sheet just to drain some of the liquid before we put on our toppings. We're an everything bagel family, and the more seeds, the better. So this is our topping of choice. If you wanted to mix in something like raisins or cinnamon or cheese, you will have wanted to do that in the dough making step. But if you're just putting on a topping like this, you'll do it after you boil. So I just have a dish here with the seeds sprinkled into it. You can do any kind of method. I do a mixture of both sprinkling by hand, shaking it around, whatever works. It's also a crime if you don't put seeds on both sides. So that's an absolutely necessary step. And if you didn't have enough seeds, go ahead and sprinkle some more on top. So after decorating your bagels, I have my oven set for 425 degrees and I'm going to pop those in for 20 minutes and they come out looking like this with a beautiful golden brown crust, but it's also going to be really nice and soft in the center. So we're going to cut one of these open and I want to show you the steam that comes out when they're fresh out of the oven. It really just has a nice crust on the outside and it's so soft and delicious on the inside. And the reason I wanted to share this recipe with you is that this was an absolute hit the very first time that I made it, which I really can't say for anything else that I've made in my life. So I wanted to share it because it really was simple and I was shocked how well they turned out the first time. And I've made them a few times since then and they've all been amazing. They've all gotten compliments from family and I make them now anytime we have guests. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please let me know if you make them too and I'll see you next time.